A lot has transpired for over the last few weeks. You know, Man United beating Arsenal. Of course, you guys probably already know that and seen that, and you've been reminded of it every day since. You would think it would be over and done with now, but knowing the fans, they're gonna milk everything. You know what I mean? So a lot has transpired, and a lot of chatter, a lot of talk keep on going. The expectation for Arsenal is just like out the roof right now. You would think that people would want to put some context to it, but I guess the narrative is all structured around Arsenal Football Club and not the other teams in the English Premier League. So it doesn't matter what Arsenal do; they're going to be criticized. They're going to be judged to another standard than everyone else, and that's okay. But what's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore is how much of modern day punditry, and we're particularly speaking about former Man United players. They all came together, formed this huge conglomerate. Of course, you already know that majority of the people in the media, football media in England, is actually Man United fans or players. But they have now formed a conglomerate of people, past players, now comfortably positioned as pundits to critique, provide insights. A number of these voices, you would think, some of whom struggled badly when they were given the opportunity to coach or be managers. And sometimes you listen to them, it just feels more like of a deflection and jealousy rather than analysis. So instead of interrogating the very real issues at their own club, the focus is repeatedly shifted towards Arsenal and, of course, other clubs who sit in a better position to vie for the title or the English Premier League title. And when that happens, it often comes with an attempt to diminish the progress rather than explain it. Paul Scholes, of course, is a Man United past player. His recent comments are a clear example, suggesting that Arsenal would be the worst team to ever win the Premier League, and that only one Arsenal player would be worthy of a team of the season spot. That isn't grounded in context or evolution, it's narrative framing, and it's the mental gymnastic that they come up with every single year. Last I checked, when Arsenal started competing in the English Premier League to a level, Arsene Wenger is the one who introduced the creative type of football, the attractive kind of football. Because back then, English Premier League was known for just running, just get the ball and chase it down the wings and then just put the ball in the box. But if that wasn't boring, I don't know what was. So football has evolved. The game is faster and it's more structured. More financial backing, the players are being paid more collective, and the metrics for success are not what they used to be like 20 years ago. Yet, some from that era continue to judge modern teams and players through standards that are rooted in a different era. An era some still feel must remain untouched and frozen to protect and validate their own legacies. Now, we're not saying that they're not bases to form on current day football, because you have to have a foundation. You know what I mean? So we respect that foundation, the legacies that come about, but at least don't try to make it as if progress is a threat. And that has been seen too often with the young players. Success today isn't just about individual brilliance. It's about systems, sustainability, and consistency over 38 games. Players today, it doesn't matter how good you are, what you've accomplished, you will constantly be looked on or looked through a microscope just to find something to discredit you for. So definitely, the Arsenal and Man United rivalry once defined English football. But rivalries evolved just like clubs. The old talking points about past dominance has basically lost relevance when neither team, when you look at it, Man U and Arsenal, have not lifted the trophy in quite some time. So it doesn't matter how long you haven't lifted the trophy. We both haven't lifted the trophy since of recent. But what matters now is direction. Arsenal's upward progression, when contrasted with United's ongoing instability, paints a very clear picture, one that's difficult for some to accept. An Arsenal league title would not just be a success story. It would now highlight and expose the growing gap between the two clubs that was once separated by fine margins. And rather than acknowledging that reality, there's a visible attempt to destabilize it by manufacturing narratives. So much so that Mikel Arteta, who's a 43-year-old guy who's a former English League player, former player of Arsenal also, has seen more success as a coach than all of them combined. And I believe that's where the discomfort lies, in Arteta being so young and accomplishing so much, and the young players coming up making far more money and making a name for themselves. Arsenal's trajectory is clear: steady improvement, identity, cohesion, and belief. Man United's contrast remains uncertain and reactive. Yes, United have beaten Arsenal, City. You know what I mean? Those results definitely deserve some acknowledgement because they've made some progress. But football isn't built on isolated nights or games. Two big wins don't define or redefine a season, and they certainly don't override structural instability. You won 2 games and all of a sudden you're acting as if you're the best team in the world since sliced bread. At no ordinary night, guys, this is where it's at. I mean, football is more than a result. It's about patterns, progress, and perspective. And from that lens, attempts to water down Arsenal's prospect of winning the English Premier League say far more about the fear of change than they do about the quality of the team. So while the noise continues externally, perspective matters. Football seasons are marathons, not highlighting reels. And when the dust settles, the same voices eager to diminish Arsenal's progress may find themselves right back where they started, calling for change, pointing fingers, and once again asking familiar questions at home. I mean, that's football and that's perspective. We're not saying Arsenal don't have a lot to work on. They do, both teams, but we have come a far way. Once again, guys, this is No Honor 90, and if you didn't, please hit the like button, guys. That's all I ask. Subscribe and share the content. Walk good. I'm out.